live in interesting times. This week's stories. In Texas, Molina neighborhood residents in Corpus Christi say church outreach is a blessing to their community. In Washington, D.C., we will take you to a memorial in U.S. Capitol honoring life legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. In Tennessee, the National Civil Rights Museum commemorates Martin Luther King Jr. Day with free admission and community service. Plus in Nevada, cutting-edge technologies debut at CES 2020. And virtual reality gaming pushes boundaries and goes for self-sufficiency. This is Eagle News Weekend Edition, broadcasting from Las Vegas, bringing you stories from around the globe. I'm Anna Klee. Residents of what is considered an underserved community in Corpus Christi called Molina neighborhood say a recent church mission there is a blessing to them. Eagle News correspondent Tatiana Estanislao with the details.
Hello from Corpus Christi, Texas. We're here at the Molina Neighborhood Center, where volunteers from the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ are sharing their faith by giving back to the community.
My name is Eric Lee Tunches. I'm from the city of Corpus Christi, state of Texas, and I've been living here in the Molina neighborhood for the last 32 years of my life. And I'm very heavily involved in the neighborhood, in the community outreach programs. Well, my friend Kat, she called me and she wanted to see if we can put together a venue for a very needy neighborhood. The first place that I thought of was the Molina Neighborhood Center. This is where I grew up. This is where I recreated as a child, and I grew up down the street.
My family's from the Molina area. My grandma raised all 13 of her kids here in this area. Really, she did. Through the past, but this place was a bad spot. When I was first born, this was a bad area.
The Molina neighborhood is a low socioeconomic neighborhood located in the city's west side, most nationally known for the city of Salina and also the neighborhood of Salina. Selena's been dead for 25 years, and she was the queen of Tejano. So we have some big roots into Tejano music and Mexican-American music for the world. Molina neighborhood has been underserved for decades. We have been neglected from city council to the state to federal levels as well. That's the reason why I thought that the Molina neighborhood would be a great choice for the Church of Christ Village Evangelical to come on in and help our brothers and sisters down here in Corpus Christi, Texas.
In regards to the Village Evangelical Mission, this is actually in line with what our Lord Jesus Christ did himself. He went from city to city and from village to village to preach the words of our Almighty God. We were able to get together and distribute invitations to over 500 houses within the Molina community. Our brethren, many of them didn't have much sleep the night before because they were packing all of the food and continue to make the preparations. As whatever sacrifice it took, they were willing to make it.
Today I found out about today's event due to a text message. Really, I was at the emergency at the Doctors Regional, and a gentleman that has been looking for us for actually a whole year now. He said, "Hey, I have this invitation, y'all should go." And we said, "Alrighty, sir, we'll go."
I found this on Facebook on my wall, and I said I'm gonna go check it out, see what it's all about. That was great that provided today. The groceries back to people, they need that, especially in this part of the city.
How did you find out about this event?
To get a card read? Yeah. I saw it on Facebook and then I got this card at my door yesterday. So there's a lot of people, a lot of children that are hungry. They don't have any food at home. Very grateful. Very grateful and very grateful. Yes. You're the best. Thank you.
They gave us groceries, water, clothing, good word, worship, anything you need. Direction, answers, prayers. I see that in this building. I honestly think that, if we get enough people to change their hearts and their minds about the poverty and how they see people, that we can make something great happen here. I like this church.
Very blessing for all of us. For
Especially
everyone,
this Molina District.
especially Molina District also.
There's a lot of low income people,
right.
but they're real friendly and kind. I think it was a beautiful service. There was a lot of people, happy people, and everybody was friendly. Have a blessed day.
He don't just provide the groceries and the clothing and all that. He also provides the food for your soul and for what you need from him. So for me, this is a blessing for me. This is a blessing for me.
I was very surprised, very well organized, very well communicated through some of the outlets of the news stations here locally and some of the social media groups. There was a very large volunteer system and a large group of people really wanting to help and being passionate about it. I'm very happy that this event is being successful. As you can see, there's a lot of people inside here getting their blood pressure checked, getting groceries that are needed for their homes and very vital.
Everybody's so joyful and they're very friendly and very welcoming.
Yeah, before we even got to be in the parking lot, they were already letting us know.
Down. Hey, y'all come on in, let's go.
It was a very good experience, more better than what I had seen in any other churches. I actually felt el Espíritu de Dios aquí en este edificio.
But I received a good message today, and this is where I was supposed to be. God sent me in the right direction today. We still have people here willing to help. And now that I know about everybody on the other side of the world helping each other, I feel a little lighter inside. God placed us here today for a reason.
Reporting from Corpus Christi, Texas, this is Tatiana Estanislao, Eagle News, 125.
Thanks, Tatiana. Coming up in Washington, D.C., we will take you to a memorial in U.S. Capitol honoring life legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. In Tennessee, the National Civil Rights Museum commemorates Martin Luther King Jr. Day with free admission and community service. Eagle News Weekend Edition will return shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Eagle News Weekend Edition coming to you from Las Vegas. I'm Anna Cui. Every third Monday of January since 1986 has been dedicated as Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a day honoring the life and legacy of the civil rights icon, Martin Luther King Jr. Eagle News correspondent Christina Anacuesta takes us to the nation's capital, where the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial stands. Take a look.
Hey guys, I just made it to DC. I'm at the Tidal Basin and it holds a bunch of memorials, but the one I'm going to visit is the Martin Luther King Jr. one today, so I'll see you there. Hey guys, so I just made it to the Martin Luther King Memorial, and right behind me was the statue. Ooh, let me go fix. And fix it. So right behind me right now, over there, is the memorial itself. So we're here today because the world is celebrating his works. So let's go check it out. Now, you've probably heard of Martin Luther King Jr. He's an activist and a great believer in pacifism. A great guy, really. In fact, he was one of the activists to get the Civil Rights Act passed. Now behind me is this wall full of his famous quotes from sermons, speeches, and writings. My favorite quote is actually behind me. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. 1963. Isn't it fascinating? As you may have noticed, behind Dr. King are two mountains. They represent the Mountain of Despair, a stone of hope, which Dr. King is cut and carved out of, with a quote on the side saying, "Out of the Mountain of Despair, a stone of hope." It represents Dr. King's early death, and during the Civil Rights Movement, it was not and did not feel complete. The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Site is at 1964 Independence Avenue. 1964 represents the year the Civil Rights Act became law. Basically, it ends discrimination from race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. I remember Dr. King through his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, which he did at the Lincoln Memorial Steps just down the street. Isn't that amazing? He spoke in front of thousands of people to support equal rights for African Americans. Though inequality has not faded completely, Dr. King helped change people in a positive way. His dreams and legacy live on to this day and has helped inspire people from all over the world. From the Tidal Basin in Washington, D.C., I'm Christina Ana Cuesta, and I am 1 with 25. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day!
Thanks, Christina. Meanwhile, in Memphis, Tennessee, the National Civil Rights Museum commemorated Martin Luther King Jr. Day with free museum admission, community service, and a vision. Eagle News correspondent Elmarie Gonzalez with the details.
Hello from Memphis, Tennessee. Today we are here in the Lorraine Hotel, where the National Civil Rights Museum is located, where the community of Memphis has gathered to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Things about Memphis is that we're the second most philanthropic city in the United States. And so there is this, within the city, there's this drive to do good. So some of our partners have a promotional thing this weekend where all the different nonprofits come together and people can volunteer online to do different projects. And so it's everything from cleaning up different neighborhoods or helping other nonprofits with their work on this particular day. And it's really started throughout the weekend. Now here, what we've done at the National Civil Rights Museum is we partner with the Mid-South Food Bank. And so visitors got, if they donated a canned good or non-perishable good, they would get $2 off a future visit. Or if they donated blood, they would get expedited to the front of the line. And then they would donate, they would receive up to 4 passes for a future visit to the museum. So it was a great way to allow people to come onto the campus, but feeling really connected to everything. The National Civil Rights Museum, we are located in the historic Lorraine Motel. And so we are, our balcony, room 306, is where Dr. King was assassinated. So for many people on Dr. King's birthday, this is a way to pay respect to him. Because of a FedEx donation to the museum, we are getting free admission for all of our visitors today. And so that really brings people out. And it brought out a lot of families because there's not many places you can take a family of 4 today that's free. That's educational, that you know is going to affirm values of being a good citizen and participating in society and creating social change. And we do that on all levels. You know, ultimately, when I think of the legacy of Dr. King, I look at his life post-1963. Everybody thinks of the "I Have a Dream" speech, but the reality is they only focus on the last half of the "I Have a Dream" speech. But if we move forward and we look at 1965 with the Voting Rights Campaign, if we look at 67, where he boldly is stating that being poor isn't a crime, it's a result of systematic injustice. Being hungry isn't a crime, it's a result of systematic injustice, and that we have to radically reimagine how we deal with that. I think that's the thing that, for me, is the most impactful, because it is a tangible issue. It demonstrates that there is a need for addressing economic inequity. There's a need to ensure that people receive a living wage, so that if you're working 40 hours a week, there should be no reason that you're not paid enough that you can sustain yourself and your family. And I think that we have enough resources, especially in the United States, to make those things possible. We just have to rethink how we do that and change our perception of the poor, the hungry, the homeless. It's not a crime to be in either of these states, and at some point, a lot of people will find themselves in that. The crime is not addressing these social wrongs that create and perpetuate these states for many people. You know, I think a lot of people, when they think of the next generation, they tend to look down on either millennials or now Gen Zers. And it's funny because it's a stereotype that we've perpetuated over generations, right? So when baby boomers were young and they were the hippies and there was the summer of love, everybody's like, they're not about anything. They just want to make the world better, right? And then you see Gen Xers, well, they don't care enough. It's this thing that happens generationally. We have to start flipping our perspective. The students I've encountered, the people I've encountered, they really do care about the world right now in a very meaningful way. And they have drawn hope and inspiration from civil rights activists. My hope is that they look at Dr. King's legacy and they become the generation that says, you know what, the dream was nice, but there is more to Dr. King than the dream. Let's address the systematic injustices. Let's talk about nonviolence from a disarmament perspective. Let's talk about banning nuclear weapons. Let's talk about correcting the international inequities that put certain countries in perpetual state of poverty. Let's talk about women's rights and how being a woman in some countries is criminal in and of itself. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Let's talk about educating girls. Let's talk about human rights. Let's talk about the environmental justice that's creating hunger and poverty for indigenous communities and those communities who rely on the earth in a very empowering way, but there are those of us who are not doing the work we need to do to sustain it. I think we see that energy with them. I think they draw hope from the previous generation of activists, and I hope they can see Dr. King as a shining light for that. My hope is in the future that they become the folks who step forward and do this in a new way, in a powerful way. And I think if we look at what they are doing on so many different social justice issues, they're really making a tremendous impact.
Reporting from Memphis, Tennessee, I am Elmarie Gonzalez, Eagle News, 1/25.
Thanks, Elmarie. Up next, in Nevada, cutting-edge technologies debut at CES 2020. And virtual reality gaming pushes boundaries and goes for self-sufficiency. Eagle News Weekend Edition will be right back. Stay with us. This is Eagle News Weekend Edition coming to you from Las Vegas. I'm Anna Kui. Our Eagle News team here in Las Vegas takes us to CES 2020, where dozens of cutting-edge technologies debuted. Take a look. CES 2020 kicked off the new decade, keeping up with its claim to be the largest and most influential tech show in the world. The show floors can be overwhelming with over 4,000 exhibitors from around 160 countries. From startups to big tech companies, we can see more AI integration from robotics to digital health. It wouldn't be CES without robots.
Ollie is your personal home robot. It can help you get the most out of your day in practical ways.
Some are used for companionship and others for the service industry. And then there's Omron's Forpheus, the world's only AI-equipped table tennis tutor. It's a crowd favorite here at CES since its debut 3 years ago, so I asked what's new this year. Forpheus' evolving artificial intelligence technology can recognize the emotional state of the players and will adjust its game, enhancing the player's potential. TVs and entertainment systems are always a big crowd pleaser here at CES, with bigger screens and brighter images, from 4K to 8K to transparent OLED displays. They claim that this and other video displays can connect with smart home devices using artificial intelligence of things technology. Another sector in tech that's keeping up with the pace is digital health, specifically wearables. There were gadgets to help with better sleep and compact cold laser therapy device for pain relief. In just a few years, wearables went from simply counting your steps to measuring your heart rate to so much more.
So this one, it lasts for about 7 to 20 days. It's enough to measure ECG to diagnose arrhythmia. And we have our proprietary AI-based algorithm.
In addition, most of these devices come with apps that help you stay connected. Artificial intelligence in healthcare makes it possible for these devices to collect, analyze, and provide data that can be shared with doctors. Beneficial not only in health monitoring, but also in early diagnosis and better management of chronic conditions such as diabetes, lung, and heart disease. As you can see here at CES, new innovations and cutting-edge technology gets better each year, especially in artificial intelligence and their advancement in integration with healthcare, as we saw in many of the wearables. And all of this is aimed to improve people's lives. From CES 2020 in Las Vegas, Anna Kui with Eagle News, 1 with 25. Meanwhile, Eagle News correspondent Brian Sonson gets up close with a virtual reality gaming expert and learns how the industry is adapting to the changing times. Take a look.
Although it draws similarities to the arcade games of old, VR or virtual reality games are taking the gaming world to another level. VR gaming has taken a leap in the past few decades in both popularity and innovation, but tech companies like VRleo are pushing the boundaries for what's possible for the arcade game. CEO of VRleo, Patty Liu, tells us her vision on VR gaming and the steps she's made to make the VR arcade kiosk truly self-sufficient.
VR has been in gaming for several years, but it's very, very trendy right now, and it's like a new generation. What I did is to bring the new generations to another easier steps, to make it like self-service in every location. This machine does not need any steps to help the players to play the games. They're going to be doing everything by themselves. And I have a feeling that it will be more popular than right now. We have the UV disinfected functions, which is really, really like first in the world. Yes.
Oh, okay. Can you explain a little bit more in detail?
So what happened is when the buyer starts playing the games, so the head will drop down. The headset will drop down like those. And in the meanwhile, after they finish the game, the headset will go back up, and I have 4 UV lights turned on. And they will turn on for 28 seconds for the FDA requirements. Hygiene is one of the new things that we have to be focused for the VR.
Right, okay. So I guess my last question is for you, what games do you have?
This software has 4 games right now, but the software itself can load up to 18 games. So then we can have games constantly renewing to attract players.
Oh, okay, wow. Can we play?
Of course.
I guess there's nothing left to do but to play.
A self-service VR arcade kiosk? Not sure when we'll have it in our neighborhood, but I'm definitely excited about it. But for now, I'll just keep playing the Oculus Rift. What's your favorite VR game? Let us know in the comments below. From CES 2020, I'm Brian Sonson, 1 with 25.
Thanks, Brian. That is this week's Eagle News Weekend Edition. Join us next week for stories from our viewers across the nation and around the globe. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I'm Anna Kui, and I am 1 with 25.